Life insurance is huge in Japan. It's an enormous industry. Loads of people seem to be selling it as a side hustle, and for many people, it's an alternative to investing. Let's go through the basics so that you don't end up wasting money on it. First of all, let's just talk about insurance quickly. So what is insurance? Insurance is a way to spread risk. It's a way for individuals to protect themselves from catastrophic risks. In practice, you pay a small amount of money alongside, thousands or hundreds of thousands of other people. And when that low probability risk happens to you, you can get enough money to deal with it. By spreading the risk, we can protect ourselves from things that we wouldn't have been able to overcome on our own. Life insurance is basically money that your family gets when you die. It can be structured in different ways, as a lump sum, as a kind of pension payment, and so on, but essentially you're insuring your family against the risk of you not being there to provide for them. Well, you only need life insurance if you have people who are depending on you for money to survive. So if you're single or your spouse works, you might not need life insurance at all. But if you do have dependents, say you have young children or your spouse works but they earn a lot less than you, then in that situation you might feel more comfortable if you had some life insurance to make sure that they would be okay if something happens to you. But let's not get carried away here. Life insurance is not a way to provide a kind of lottery-sized win for your family if something happens to you. Instead, we want to be thinking about what's the minimum we can get by on? What would be enough to make sure that they don't starve, but without costing too much now? It's a good idea to think about all the different variables here. So, does your spouse work? Can they work? Could they work if they needed to? Do you have a mortgage? Because most of the time in Japan, if you die, your mortgage will be paid off. Are you paying into Nenkin? In that case, your spouse would probably be able to get a survivor's pension from Nenkin, which is not very big, but will certainly help cover some expenses. So after thinking about all this, you might have an idea of how much cover you would like for your life insurance. And maybe one really important factor here is that your life insurance needs are going to change over the course of your lifetime. As your needs change, say your kids grow up or your investments grow to the point where you don't need extra cover, then maybe you can reduce or even cancel your life insurance. So there are actually different types of life insurance. The two main ones are whole life insurance and term life insurance. In Japan, term life insurance is referred to by insurance companies somewhat dismissively as kakesute hoken. So kind of throwaway insurance. And the reason they do that is because term life insurance is much less profitable for the insurance companies. So what's the difference between term life insurance and whole life insurance? Term life insurance is basically what it sounds like. You insure yourself against death for a certain amount of time in exchange for a lump sum. So for example, you might take out a 10-year term life insurance policy that pays out 10 million yen on the event of your death. If you don't die in those 10 years, you wouldn't get anything. So your premiums would be wasted, as it were, and that's why this is called kind of disposable insurance in Japan. On the other hand, a whole life insurance policy has the death cover, but it also has a kind of investment component, so that parts of your premium are invested by the insurance company, and at the end of the policy, you can get that back as a lump sum. So even if you don't die, you'll still be able to get some benefit from the policy. However, term life insurance is much cheaper than whole life insurance. And for most people, it's going to be better for them to take out term life insurance and use the extra money to invest, maybe in a NISA account, maybe in iDeCo, rather than paying the much higher premiums of whole life insurance. Just to give you a quick idea, I've been looking for life insurance myself this week. I've got a blog post about that, check it out in the description. But I'm looking for about 10 million yen's worth of cover, and I only need it for about 10 years. I looked at term life insurance, and it seems that as a 46-year-old male, I can get that for about 3,000 yen a month. This is pretty reasonable, and it would give us 10 million yen's worth of cover for the next 10 years. On the other hand, I checked out whole life insurance for a similar amount, so 10 million yen's worth of cover, and that would cost me 17,000 yen a month. So if we take the 120 payments, paying an extra 14,000 yen, then we would end up paying an extra 1.6 million yen over that time period, which if we invested it would also grow. So we're probably talking about a 2 or maybe more million yen's worth difference. And that price difference is going to make a huge amount of difference to your net worth if you put it away for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And that's what we're talking about with life insurance here. So the main factors that affect the cost of life insurance are going to be, so what type is it? Is it term life or whole life? How old are you? What gender are you? Do you smoke? What's your BMI? And do you have high blood pressure? So generally speaking, whole life insurance, which is called Shushi Hoken, is going to be much more expensive. Term life insurance, called Teiki Hoken, or sometimes Kakesute Hoken, is going to be much cheaper. The older you are, the more expensive the insurance is going to be. Men are going to pay slightly more because they have a higher risk of death. If you smoke, you're going to pay much more. If your BMI is high, you're going to pay more. If you have high blood pressure, you're going to pay more. So changing those factors is going to make a difference. Stop smoking, get your BMI down, and reduce your high blood pressure. It's going to make you healthier, and it's going to reduce the cost of your insurance as well. So I used to have life insurance. So back when my stepkids were still in school, my wife was working as an English teacher, and we kind of decided that if something happened to me, she would definitely need a bit of help there. So I had whole life insurance, unfortunately. I got whole life insurance because I didn't know what I was doing, and we bought it from a friend of my wife's because that was her kind of side hustle, selling insurance to her friends, basically. I paid that for about 12 years, and then once the kids grew up and moved out, we didn't really need the life insurance anymore. Our savings had grown, and so I cancelled the policy. I got a bit of a cash refund, but I definitely paid way too much over those 12 years. Right now, I'm looking for life insurance again, just to provide a bit of liquidity. So if something happens to me, my wife would get a cash payout, which would let her basically manage things for a year or two without having to worry about taking control of my investment accounts and figuring out what to do with that money. And of course, we're looking at term life insurance, and there's a blog post about that in the description. How about you? Do you have life insurance in Japan? What type did you get? Why did you choose that? And what are your thoughts on how to choose life insurance? If you found this useful, please do subscribe to the channel. Please check out the RetireJapan.com website, and I'll see you in the next video.